Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope everybody's having a great day. I'm having an okay day. Yeah, nothing to complain about, I guess. So, the title of this video is Eclipse Magick. I thought what I would do is share with you all. I get some questions about spell work and things like that. And so I thought I would share with you all the magic that I worked on the eclipse day. And so it was super simple. And actually, I think it's something that it's spell work that you can do on more than just the eclipse. So when so I'll kind of give you like a little backup or background on how I got to the spell work that I did. So I did some research because this was pretty much the first eclipse where the first eclipse of its nature that I was going to work magic. And so I wasn't really sure what the protocol was or what kind of magic was best for that time. I just knew that it was a pretty big deal and I wanted to work something. And so it actually ended up being really a great timing. So it pretty much ties in with this master spell work that I've been doing with my Witchcraft 5 class. So the information that I found said that Eclipse Magick, it's really powerful because you're essentially kind of traversing an entire year in that time frame of the eclipse. And so depending on the time of year, so we are in the dark half of the year, we're in that time between midsummer and Yule, that's known as the dark half of the year, that it's a great time to do banishing magic. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So you want to banish bad habits, or, maybe people, or, different things like that. Things that you want to get rid of in your life. And so I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. And where I live, the height of the eclipse ended up being in the afternoon, in the mid-afternoon, between what was it? It was basically somewhere around 2:30 was going to be like the height of it. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to be at work. So what does that mean? So I actually spoke with my coworker and said, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Would you want to participate? And my coworker, she's not Wiccan in any way, but we have had multiple conversations about my faith and how she sees things and our backgrounds and stuff like that. And so something told me that it would be okay for me to offer to her, did you want to participate in this kind of an activity with me? And she was open to it. She was like, yeah, sure, that's cool. So I ended up taking my witch bag with me with my provisions. And so the spell work that we ended up doing was, it was super simple. It was basically 3 items, which, boom, here they are right here. If you follow me if you follow the Heart of the Witch's Path Instagram account, you'll see that I took a picture. And there's actually a 4th item in that picture, and that was Florida water. And that's because I used Florida water to set sacred space and to kind of set the intention, because I hadn't done really work like that at work before. So the idea was, and I've seen lots of folks do this before and talk about it on YouTube, so I know that this is an effective way. And I actually spoke with bay. You take bay leaves. Bay is a plant that I happen to have a pretty good relationship with. I've worked with bay for a number of years, and so you take a bay leaf and you write that which you want to get rid of, that which you want to banish. And so you take that, and I had a candle that I had lit so that we could light the bay leaves straight from there and not worry about, dealing with matches or lighters or anything like that. And then of course I took my cauldron to put the burning leaves in. And so it was a really interesting experience. I'm trying to remember, I'm sure that I've lived through whatever, an eclipse in the past, but I don't really remember it. So the feeling for the day for me was one that was definitely really odd. There's something to look outside during the day. It was sunny for me where I was located. It was to look outside. It very much looked like, I kind of described it to my coworker as, it looks like a scene from like a post-apocalyptic movie, because it was almost like a red sun effect that it wasn't like the full sun that we're used to seeing. It was tinged in shadow, which makes sense because of the eclipse that was happening. So it was tinged with shadow, but there was almost like an orange or a red to everything. And I guess that kind of makes sense because the eclipse happened on Monday and we were just kind of ending the cycle of Leo in our zodiac year. And so Leo is a sun sign. So maybe it was playing off that. But the feeling in the air was just one of different. There was definitely a different feel to the air. And I would love to know like what all of you who experienced the eclipse or whatever, what you thought of the day. And I can't really put any other any other word to the day besides that it was different. It was weird. It was odd. It wasn't, and I didn't get a good or a bad context from that weirdness. It was just weird. And so, all right, fine. So we set, we set our intention for cleansing space and things like that for the working. And so I had given my coworker some bay leaves earlier in the day and said, okay, how many do you want? I'm not going to ask you what you wrote or anything like that. And, we just kind of brought it together. And so I had a little area set up. And so we would ignite from the candle, get the leaf lit, and then put it in the cauldron. And everything was it was a very smooth course. And so I really thought about, and I asked her to do the same thing. You take that leaf, and I read what I had written, and I thought about this habit or this whatever that I wanted to basically not have anymore. I thought about that, and I kind of visualized seeing myself without that habit or whatever, and really kind of thought about that before I lit the leaf from the flame. And it was a very basic spell. I mean, I didn't do a big rhyming words of power or anything like that, but the intent was there. And that is quite frankly what's most important. And then we let it burn. We went ahead and made sure that everything was lit properly, that it was going to all burn in the cauldron. And that was another interesting part of the experience too, because these leaves, when they ignited, it was a very quick, very crackling ignition, and a couple of them I think we needed to relight once or twice to get it burning well and into the cauldron. But once they were all in there, it was like things kind of slowed down. And those leaves burned for a really long time. Like, I was kind of looking at my watch just to kind of have an idea of timing. And this was a solid flame that had blue in it. And it burned it burned. It was a large flame. It was a solid flame, and it didn't do a whole lot of flickering. It didn't do a whole lot of moving, but it was definitely a very large flame. And so by the time it was done, I actually have the remnants of what was left in the cauldron. Because I brought it home and I haven't dealt with this leftover stuff, which I know I need to. But I mean, you can see there's very little left. And most of what's left is actually, I used wooden matches to light the candle, and I had to use a lit match to kind of get things going in one time in the cauldron. But it burned for a good 10 minutes, and it was a strong flame. And so my Coven sisters and I are actually reading Jackie Smith's book, Coventry Magic, and she talks about looking at different things with candle magic on how to assess how your spell is going. And so I know that it wasn't necessarily a candle magic spell per se, but there was flame going on. And she said that a strong flame means that that your spell is taking effect. And so I feel like that's kind of okay to apply that to this situation as well. So I'm kind of okay saying they were some big ticket items that I decided to banish. And I won't go into what I decided to banish or anything else, or the number or anything like that. But they were some big ticket items that, like I said in the beginning of this video, coincide with my master spell that I'm working on for Witchcraft 5. So yes, it's health related. And so I feel like it was spell work that was at the right time, that it was with the right intent, that there was definitely some really good energy that went into the ignition, so to speak, of that spell. And so I feel like the spell work itself is going to be very positive as far as the outcome. So there you have it. There's the magic. And one thing that I wanted to stress is you can do this kind of magic at any time, because I want to say that I originally heard of doing that type of spell work on, I think it was Halloween. I want to say that I heard Ember Honey Raven talking about it in a Samhain video a couple of years ago or something like that. Her name sticks out to me. So you could do something like this at Samhain, and Samhain is coming up. If you feel like you've got some things that you want to banish from your life, you could definitely do it then. And I also think that you can do this every month. There's an opportunity to do something like this every month, because when you deal with the waning moon, which is the time from the full moon to the new moon, that is the waning period, and that's when you would do magics like this that are banishing in nature, things, pushing things away that you no longer want. So there's an opportunity to do spell work like this a lot of the time, but it just so happens that this eclipse spell work, there's a lot more power behind it, and that's why I opted to do this kind of a spell at that particular time. So I would love to hear what kind of spell work you may or may not have done, any kind of workings or anything like that you did with the eclipse. So feel free to make a comment in the space below. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. If you liked this video or learned something from it, please give us a thumbs up. We also have an email address here at Heart of the Witch's Path, which is heartofthewitchespath@yahoo.com. And I'll remind you again that there is an Instagram account, so check us out over there at Heart of the Witch's Path too. So yeah, I think that's about it. It was great being able to share this with you all, and I hope to hear from you as to what you did for magic. So thanks for walking the path for a little while with me, and until next time, blessed be.